So we've got a few spare minutes today, and what we're going to be looking at doing is removing the rear suspension mount, which means removing this top cover first, which we know is heavily spot welded because we did the other side. So we're going to start working on some of these spot welds and slowly and gently peeling it away to reveal the suspension mount underneath, which we can then remove. So we've been drilling now for about half an hour, 35 minutes per day, and we found probably 20-25 spot welds. So we're going to start peeling now, see if we can find a few more to get this completely removed. So after, I don't know, about an hour and a half or so, I went away and I did and came back to it. We're left with just the suspension mount now, so the cover's completely off, and now we've got to get this part off, which hopefully won't be quite as difficult. So today we're working on the heel plate in the removal of this old one, and at some point the fitting of the new one. And as you can see, we've got a seam weld to cut through. We've already started cutting it. There's also some plug welds on the other side that will need to be removed as well, and as soon as we've got that off we'll come back. So I just thought I'd give you a quick update on how I'm getting on. So I've been at about half an hour now, and it's not only seam welded down the far edge, it's the inner edge, it's been plug welded as well. So very carefully we're drilling out those plug welds, removing the seam weld with a grinder, and peeling it again like we've done all the others. The other side actually was only a couple of spot welds put down. They were actually like tack welds put down on the other side, and that was all that was holding it on. And it was obviously a genuine part because it's never been replaced on that side. So obviously that side wasn't done as securely as this side has been done. Obviously a manufacturing error there. So today we're looking at fitting the front of the rear suspension. But prior to doing that, we've got a lot of clearing up of undersill. It's all over the side of this battery box. We've got to remove as much rust as we can, so we've got something good to weld to. But the undersill goes all up this end of the chassis, so we're going to need to remove all that as well. So we've spent the last hour and a half cleaning up this area of the side of the battery box, and also down here where the exhaust, rear exhaust is held on, and this is the area that we were cleaning up, which is the front of the rear suspension mount, and obviously the chassis up to a point. We've all cleaned off the undersill, so we're now ready to maybe go over the quick wire brush and then look at welding on this front rear suspension mount. So as we're going to be welding in the front of the rear suspension, we need to clean off this area where the seat, in front of the seat, of all the undersill and stuff that's on there, because it'll only start to burn. So we'll clean that off, and then we'll be ready to do the welding. So this is just carburetor spray. But it makes a great job of clearing up all the undersill. And sometimes you've got to let it to soak a little bit, and obviously maybe paint on top of here, which actually isn't coming off so easy. So now that this side is clear, we can look at clamping it in place and looking to weld it on. So looking at the heel plate on the other side, what we've done, there's a scallop cut where the seat belt bolt would come through, and so we're just coming over to this side, and we've got the heel plate. We've taken off the top of this weld because it wouldn't lay flat without it. We didn't realise until we needed to fit this, and this heel plate does not have a scallop cut in it. So this is a Ashley Hinton part again, which we've got to modify to actually fit the car it's designed to fit. So that's now positioned in place, ready for put the first couple of welds down. Then we can move the clamps, fabricate the metal a bit better to fit this piece, and then weld further. So that's now welded on the bottom side, and we've also done the spot welds on the other side, which we just need to clean up now. And that's how the inside of the car, all the plug welds now ground down, ready for the heel plate to go on top. But we've got a bit of spray to put on here now to stop it going rusty, and when we weld it, the weld through spray will stop it going rusty after we've welded it. Right, now that's fully welded up and sprayed over with weld through spray, ready for the next component. So today we're looking at putting the heel plate on, and we're going to prep this with some holes and then spray it with weld through spray, and hopefully everything will fit. So now that's pretty much prepared, all we need to do is put a few of the welds down, because this actually doesn't fit that well. And also what we noticed is that the angle of the rear suspension mount, although it is on the chassis and everywhere else it should fix, is actually pointing slightly down when it should be pretty much level. So we've had to use a bottle jack to jack it up slightly, and then when we eventually fit this plate, we should be able to use this plate as further leverage to actually lift it up when we weld this plate to the side of the chassis, and everything will be held square then. So we've got the back of the heel plate positioned where we think it should be, but obviously the front isn't fitting because the rear suspension bracket is pointing down slightly. So we're going to put a few welds on the back and then clamp the two together and lift the whole lot up and then weld it to the side of the chassis. So that's now fully welded in place. So we've welded all the way up to the seat belt holder on this side. There's a stitch weld across the top as well, plus all the plug welds that we've done as well. So we're just going to knock some of those plug welds down a bit so they don't look too aggressive, and maybe take a little bit off the stitch weld as well, and then we'll put some paint on it. Right, so that's all those ground down, and now we'll look about putting some paint on it.